Hey, my lovely people. Welcome back to A Black Cat's Voice. I'm your host, Kat, here with my season 4 finale. Now, it has been a journey. And for those of you who have been listening, who have been a fan since day one, you know it has been a journey through trials and tribulations, through feeling nervous to record, even some of the episodes I've recorded have been very painful things for me to talk about, but getting the messages that I receive about how these stories have changed someone's life, how someone can relate to something I've said, it has just made everything more than worth it. When I first started my podcast, I had no idea who was going to listen. I didn't know if it was just going to be me. I didn't know if it was just going to be me and my best friend. I had no idea. And here I am, I started recording back in 2020, back when Black Lives Matter was going on. There's so much chaos happening in the world that I originally started making live videos on Instagram, and from that point, so many people were telling me Kat, you need to start a podcast. Kat, please start a podcast. Oh my goodness, there's so many things. Please talk about this. And I was getting all these DMs, all these texts, just all these messages from people saying, they would really like me to touch on certain topics and just see what I thought about it, how I felt about it. And here we are 4 seasons later in 2023. And the fact that my podcast has been played literally thousands of times, my podcast has been played in multiple countries. I have listeners in Germany. I have listeners in France. I have listeners in the Virgin Islands. I was one of the top podcasts in Vietnam last year. And once again, I'm speechless just thinking that this many people would care about what I have to say, So from the bottom of my heart, I just really want to thank you guys for supporting. Thank you for the encouragement. Thank you for growing with me. Thank you for learning with me. Thank you for the feedback, good and bad. I'm just so happy to be able to use my voice, to be able to use my light, and to just really help other people see that even those tough things that you don't talk about, somebody else is going through that. And just because it may be hard to deal with that right now, it doesn't mean that the story is over. That's the beautiful thing about life, is that we are all the creators of our own stories, So just because you didn't like the last chapter doesn't mean that you can't turn the page. And it doesn't mean that your next chapter can't be the greatest one you've ever had. You just got to keep going. And to everybody who supports me, who encourages me, and who's here with me, I just really want to thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I just really want to thank you for following, for listening, for sharing, and just for believing in me. There were times when I didn't believe in myself anymore. There were times, unfortunately, my podcast was just, starting off. It was starting to make changes and everything. And I had someone that I was so close to, someone I've known literally my entire life, someone I used to speak to every single day, tell me that I need to stop recording. And due to me already feeling self-conscious, for those of you who don't know, I just started liking the sound of my voice. Most of my life, I always hated the sound of my voice. I can't explain why. As a kid, I thought I had a really deep voice, but once I got out of that, I just really hated the sound of my voice. So for me to be using my voice to help people is amazing. Especially too, my dad, rest his beautiful soul, was a pastor. And that's what he did, for a living. That's what he did. He used his voice to help people. And people have told me I have a very calming, a very distinct voice. And I'm really honored to be able to use my voice to help somebody. So it seems only right that before I talk about the topic for this finale, that I just really go down the line and tell, my story of podcasting and just say thank you to the real ones. Thank you to the amazing, to the supportive people who have helped me make my dream into a reality, because everybody needs help. And to that person that told me that I should stop recording, that's why you don't hear from me anymore, because I know my worth, I know my value. And if you don't believe in me, that's perfectly fine. But you're not going to be around me trying to make me not believe in myself. So for tonight's episode, I wanted to call it Home. And I wanted to talk about what home means to me. So I made an acronym. Y'all know I love wordplay. I'm a poet, Y'all go get my poetry book if you haven't already. It's on Amazon, A Black Cat's Voice, Volume 1, Broken Heart, Happy Soul. Sorry, just had to plug myself. Okay, so tonight's topic, home. My acronym, home, house of my emotions. So home, house of my emotions. Now, when I speak of what a home is, I'm speaking of a place of peace, a place of love, a place of understanding, a place where you can be comfortable to be yourself without judgment. And this place can be physical, can be, your grandma's house, your mom's house, your house, whatever. But I think the best place to make your home needs to be your mind. So you should be your home, you and the way you talk to yourself, when nobody's around. That should be something that makes you comfortable. The world is always going to judge us. The world is always going to have something to say. So in your own mind, yes, you have to, critique yourself and hold yourself accountable in certain ways. But you cannot be harder on yourself than this world is going to be on you. You cannot judge yourself harsher than the world is going to judge you, because at the end of the day, that's only hurting yourself. I'm a big Whitney Houston fan. Always. For me, she's the greatest voice of all time, greatest singer. Nobody's touching that. I'm not debating that with anybody because nobody can change my mind. Miss Whitney Houston, there will never be another. And one of her most beautiful songs, she says, it's actually, y'all know the song, The Greatest Love of All. So in the song, which I feel like it goes over a lot of people's head, one of the lyrics to the song, she says, learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And I listen to that song all the time. Like, that's one of my favorite songs ever created because it's so true. The greatest love you can experience is the love that you give to yourself. You can experience great love with other people. Other people can provide inspiration and can really change your lives. But learning to love yourself, learning to know how powerful you are, understanding who you really are, and knowing your worth is the greatest love of all. And the reason it's the greatest love of all is because once you learn who you are, nobody can take that from you. You know what I mean? Life is unpredictable. We all know it. So yes, it's nice to have love from other people, but you never know what's going to happen. We never know when we're going to talk to people for the last time. And it's like, if my greatest love of all is outside of somebody, then that person, has the control. They have the power that whenever that person is not in my life anymore for any reason, I can't talk to them, can't see them, whatever, now I don't have that love no more, you know? And I'm guilty of it. Like, when my dad passed away, I was broken. I would say for a good 10 years, I was devastated to where I felt like I was never going to find that love again. Until finally a few years ago, after going to therapy, after trying different things, after learning about myself, I really realized that the greatest gift my dad had given me was already inside of me. You know, my dad taught me how to love. And the way, you know, I used to have a great therapist who actually told me that the way that my dad loved me showed me how he felt about himself, you know? And a lot of the times, I genuinely believe that people cannot love you past the point in which they love themselves, you know? So a person who does not take care of themselves, a person who does not value themselves and honor themselves, they can't do that for you. You know, they can make you feel good. Don't get me wrong. Anybody can make somebody else feel good. But that lasting love, it comes from a place of purity, of knowing yourself. You know what I mean? And I'm saying all this to say that if you have this great love within yourself, then you're always at home. You know how there's some people, they say they can go anywhere and be comfortable? That's how you should be. Of course, there's going to be situations in life that challenge us and everything like that. But if you really know who you are and you know your worth, then nobody can shake that, because nobody can take that from you. You know, I have people tell me a lot of the times, man, they love my confidence. You know, man, I love, you know, how much you believe in yourself. And what a lot of people have to understand is that I built this. You know, nobody gave this to me. Nobody handed this to me. I did a lot of work on myself, and I'm still doing a lot of work on myself to where my love comes from inside of me. So however you feel about me, good or bad, it's great, but it's not going to change nothing over here because I know who I am, you know? So me really genuinely loving myself, me really genuinely appreciating who I am, what I've been through, and how I have developed through all of that. That makes me always at home. And that's why I'm confident in any room I walk in. I'm standing tall in any room I walk in. It don't matter who comes in the room. It don't matter what anybody says. I know who I am. And that's what I mean when I say you're home. You know, you can't place that value in your car. You can't place it in your house, your kids, your partner, even in a job. You know, you can't place the value of yourself outside of yourself, because that means that it can always be taken away. You know, the thing that should make you feel at home more than anything is you. And I've been through chaos. I've been through a lot of trauma. Like, I've been through so much that sometimes people don't even believe what I've gone through, because they're like, how are you so happy? How are you always so happy? Like, and I just want to give some examples for anybody who might be struggling, you know, of what to do to make your house, you know, make your mind a home if it's not a home already. So the biggest thing you can do, and one of the best things you can do for yourself, is learn yourself. Learn how to cope with your negative emotions. There are so many ways you can change your mind, you can elevate your mind, and it can really change your life. You know, a perfect example, journaling. Journaling can really benefit you, because sometimes you have so many thoughts in your head, and just seeing them out on paper, you know, especially when you mad. Like, for me, I used to have really bad anger issues. Like, that's why I used to fight back when, you know, I was younger, because I had such bad anger issues. I was so angry. And as I got older, and realized, I'm too pretty to go to jail, I realized that I had to find different ways to manage my anger. And one of the things that helped me so much was journaling. Like, when I would get mad at people, instead of going and cussing them out or trying to fight them, I would literally go home and just write a letter to that person, and I would say everything I wanted to say. I wouldn't hold back. And by the time I'm done with the letter, a lot of the times I'll literally laugh, because I'm like, it's not even this serious for me to be this mad, And sometimes it was, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I know I was justified in having a strong emotion because of what somebody did to me. But what I realized is that if you can get me mad and you can make me come out of character, then that means that I don't control me. That means you control me. And I cannot give anybody that power. You have to take your power back in whatever way that means for you. So journaling can really help you navigate those emotions to where you can see, like, man, like, why am I so mad? Or, man, is this worth being mad about? And, you don't even have to, it doesn't always have to be a situation that made you mad. You can also write letters to people who have hurt you. Sometimes a conversation won't fix everything. There's some people that you'll talk to them and it'll go in one ear and out the other. So it's no point in wasting your breath. But to get out and express those emotions, you can write them a letter. And one of the exercises I used to do, one of my best friends, previous best friends, showed me, we would call it let it go. So what you do is you write a letter, you get out whatever emotion you need to get out, you turn on some music, whether it's a favorite song, a calming song, you light a candle, and then you burn the letter. And just watching, it burn is like a release of those emotions. Like, it's kind of like you get to be true to yourself. You get to express that your feelings are valid, because your feelings are always valid. You have a right to feel however you feel about anything in your life. But it's up to you to control those emotions, because it just looks crazy. You cannot be out here just going from, doing parkour, jumping from one emotion to the next, because eventually they're going to put you in a crazy house or something like that. And even if they don't do that, eventually you're going to just realize that you messed up a lot of opportunities for yourself just because you couldn't control your emotions. Another way that you can help, make your mind home, meditation. I have been meditating since I was 19 years old, and people that really know me know this is the calmest I have ever been in my life, and it's because I meditate every day. And people always think meditation is this big, grand production. Is this, you gotta sit in a butterfly, you gotta you gotta hold your hand a certain way. It's not. There are so many different ways to meditate. You can meditate in ways where you're standing up. You can meditate in ways where you're not even closing your eyes. There's so many different tools, and we are so blessed that we live in the age of technology that you can YouTube all this. I literally learned to meditate off YouTube. One of my favorite channels, if you would like to learn to meditate, is called Spirit Science. Spirit Science is basically like a cartoon, and he literally, it's actually gender neutral, and they just walk you through different breathing exercises, just different methods of managing stress, and it can be really helpful. So I definitely recommend Spirit Science. I recommend Dora K. I just really recommend that you find what works for you. Yeah, and what works to you, because there's no right or wrong way to meditate. It's just about knowing how to control your energy to where you're in control instead of somebody else. And last but not least, don't be afraid to seek help. Sometimes people need medication. For real. Sometimes you need to talk to a professional. I'm a person, I used to be on antidepressants. I used to take anti-anxiety meds. And it didn't work for me. I feel like it made me feel crazier, to be real. But I now know, that it didn't work for me. And sometimes you never know what works until you try it out. I have friends, I have family members who have had mental health struggles and have found the right dosage, the right doctor, the right medication, to where now they're the happiest I've ever seen them. So don't be afraid to seek help. It doesn't mean you're crazy. It doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means you love yourself. Knowing that you're struggling and you need help, that means you love yourself. There's nothing wrong with being in therapy. I'm trying to go back to therapy right now, honestly. I'm waiting, to get more information from, my medical, I have a lot of stuff, in my medical background. So I'm waiting to get more information on that. But I'll definitely be going back to therapy very soon, this year even. And I have no shame in saying that I've always been in and out of therapy. And it's okay to need help, just know that it's okay to need help, because you deserve to have a home, you deserve to have a house of my emotions that is calm, that is beautiful, that is stable, and that can get you through any phase in life. Just know that you deserve it. And just know that you are worthy, and know that your feelings are valid. Just learn to navigate them so you can truly be at home. And I just want to end this discussion, quoting another song by the beautiful, incomparable, amazing Miss Whitney Houston. She says, "When I think of home, I think of a place where there is love overflowing." So just know that you are always surrounded by love. You are always surrounded by love, even if you can't feel it. But just know it's up to you to channel that love into a way that feels like love for you. Know that you are worth it, and know that you deserve it. And as always, I just want to say one last time, thank you so much for listening. Y'all take care. I will see you on YouTube. I will see you on Instagram. I will see you on Facebook. And yeah, please be good to yourselves, you guys. And just know that you deserve a home too. Take care.